Over to the ranking member. Since the first Trump administration, the U.S. has imposed significant export controls on Communist China's semiconductor industry to maximize our leadership in computing capabilities that drive AI. However, there are some who assert that the export controls have led to unintended consequences hurting the U.S. more than our adversaries. Here are just a few of the most common arguments. First, restricting U.S. AI chips incentivizes the Communist Party to support Chinese firms like SMIC and Huawei to develop indigenous AI chip alternatives. Dr. Mulvaney, you just kind of touched upon this. Instead of allowing advanced U.S. AI chips to be sold to China, this would hurt Chinese firms' ability to find a marketplace. Second, allowing chip sales would maintain Chinese dependency on the U.S. tech stack, keeping Chinese developers using our AI software and building AI infrastructure around our technology. Third, these controls are ultimately ineffective as restricted chips still find their way to Communist China through smuggling networks. And finally, they hurt U.S. jobs and reduce profits that could go to R&D to produce even more advanced chips. We just heard Dr. Mulvaney. Dr. Miller, could you assess the strengths and weaknesses of these arguments?
Senator, I've studied the history of the Chinese chip industry over the last several decades, and I can say that indigenization of their own capabilities has been a goal for many years. It's not that China doesn't want its own technologies, it's that because of our controls, they can't produce them at the scale that's necessary. And I would therefore say it's wrong to argue that our controls have incentivized indigenization, because this is built into the way the Chinese leadership thinks about semiconductors. They're racing towards building out their own tech stack as fast as they can, but they can't do it fast enough to keep up with our technology leadership.
The White House recently released an AI action plan that doubled down on the need to strengthen export controls and to achieve this. It said denying our foreign adversaries access to advanced AI compute is a matter of both geostrategic competition and national security. These restrictions have helped prevent Beijing from indigenously producing and purchasing the advanced chips needed to train or deploy leading-edge AI systems. Instead, Chinese AI companies are forced to smuggle chips. As I mentioned in my opening statement, Senator Coons and I will be introducing the Secure and Feasible Exports of Chips Act, or Safe Chips Act. This bill would codify the Trump administration's current red lines on what AI chips are allowed to be sold to foreign adversaries. And I'm just going to ask all the witnesses, given we've got about 2.5 minutes here, if you could just run through, do you support this effort to restrict our adversaries' access to these most advanced chips? Dr. Miller, we'll start with you.
Senator, yes, I think codifying the export controls does make sense.
Great. Mr. Allen?
Absolutely, and I'll highlight that I think there's a specific benefit to doing so by codifying it in law, because I believe China's current position of not buying these chips is a negotiating gambit to try and get us to sell them better chips, and codifying it in law would make clear that that gambit is not going to work.
Yeah, and to be specific, you're talking about the H-20 that
Yes.
we have offered to sell them, and they've said, no, we aren't going to allow our people to buy them. But you, again, what you're saying is that's just leverage in the negotiation.
Exactly.
Great, thank you. Mr. Chabra?
Yes, Senator, we fully support that, particularly codification.
Great, thanks.
As I said in my testimony, I of course support it, and specifically support the element of it that is not targeting individual Chinese companies, which I believe was a whack-a-mole strategy, but instead is setting technology thresholds on both equipment and the chips themselves, which I think is a far sounder way of having a more sustainable and resilient export policy.
Right. Communist China and the People's Liberation Army are investing heavily in integrated AI into every aspect of the military. Dr. Mulvaney, you just described that. Beijing has made it clear it views that the AI is simply a tool for, not just simply a tool for economic support, but as you mentioned, a decisive strategic weapon to offset the U.S. military advantage. And we're already seeing the results that you were describing there. The party also has this military-civil fusion strategy that ensures every AI breakthrough in Communist China's private sector can be rapidly funneled into PLA hands. Dr. Mulvaney, what are some of the potential military and cybersecurity risks if Communist China has access to greater computing power via advanced U.S. AI chips?
Well, I think we've already seen some real-world examples. Greg mentioned in his testimony that we've already seen this very devastating, completely AI-engineered cyber intrusion set. I believe that that's simply a harbinger of the future, making thousands of network decisions at network speed and not requiring human input as you have before. I think that an area where we're specifically looking at concern is things along the lines of what we know from the drone wars and what drone swarm warfare would look like and the level of coordination necessary to be able to carry out those kind of activities, which is ideal for the kinds of systems that we're talking about today.
So are there specific steps that we should be taking to be able to counter this or prevent China from gaining this advantage?
Well, I think that recognizing that military-civil fusion means that you can't have a validated end user in China, that there is no such thing as a civilian validated end user that you can sell an AI chip that therefore prevents it from being accessible to the Chinese military as a matter of Chinese national policy called military-civil fusion.
Okay, thanks. Ranking member.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.